Hello, YouTubers. It's Barbie J here. Welcome to my channel, June BLC. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of The Equalizer, Season 5, Episode 12, Trust No One. And the synopsis for this episode reads, McCall and the team are on the hunt for buried treasure after a history professor obsessed with finding missing gold is killed. Dante is reluctant to introduce his sons to McCall after she invites them over for dinner. But honestly, if you ask me, he shouldn't be so reluctant because she's the one, they met her before and she got their father back. She is the one who risked her life to get him back. So they should be open to meeting him, especially when he gave them her number saying if they're ever in trouble to reach out to Robin. So, but I understand what's happening with his other son, because for some reason he has it in his head that with Dante coming back to New York, his parents are going to get back together. But they weren't together while they were in New York. So I'm just not sure why this has gotten back into his son's head. They lived separate lives. They were at dad's house, they were at mom's house. That's how it was. Anywho, the episode starts off with this man running up the stairs and looking like he's being chased. So he gets into his apartment, locks the door. He hears a sound. He pulls out his sword. He about to slice somebody. And when he turns around, somebody's in there and shoot him with a gun. Pop, pop, and he's dead. So now, as they do in every episode, they switch over to the kitchen scene. Aunt Vi have baked some wonderful, delicious muffins. She offers Robin one, and Robin says no because she has a breakfast date with Dante. So they start teasing her about that, saying, when you going to bring him around to have a meal with the family? And she's like, yeah, I've known him for years, so what's the difference? She says, so bring him over and bring his sons because we haven't met him yet. And Robin was kind of like, not now or at some point soon or whatever else. And then her phone rings. It's Harry and she got to go. And Vi gave her a couple of those muffins and said, here, share with your man. And Robin chuckled and left. So she met with her new client, Ariel, whose father was killed. And she tells her background story of how her father was always living in the past and he couldn't move forward, especially after his wife died and he didn't even have time for her, his daughter Ariel or whatever. But she said right before he died, he left 3 packages that was sent to her. That's why she doesn't believe he was a victim of a home invasion, like the police said. And so Robin asked what were in the packages, and she said his research and this note. And the note basically said, trust no one, but it had trust with TRUSS. And so she thought it was a typo. And it said, trust no one, short face contingency went to Percival, your loving father. She didn't understand the message either, but she said in her gut, she knows that her father knew he was going to die and this was not a random killing. So Robin says she's going to find out who did this. So she meets with Harry and Mel in the Batcave to find out more information about Dr. Kincaid, who was Ariel's father. And we learned that he was a professor at Hempstead U and that, he did all this research in the past and he was obsessed with it, his daughter said, and all this stuff. So Robin said, let's dig up what we can because she said, I had to live without knowing my father's killers for years and I don't want Ariel to have to go through the same thing. And so we also see that the professor had been sending his dean letters or emails asking for personal security. So we don't know what was going on. He must have been being followed or something was happening. So Robin said, send a police report to Dante. I'd like to get his take on what it is and that she's going to meet him for breakfast. And Harry was like, oh, some eggs with a little side of murder. How romantic. I said, Harry's so stupid. Anyway, Robin catches up with Dante and she lets him taste the muffins or whatever that Aunt Vi made. And he's like, Vi's bacon. And he's like, you've been holding out on me. And she's like, we can do something about that. You should come over for dinner one night and bring your sons so the families can meet. And Dante was like, oh, that sounds like fun. But you could see there was something going on in his look. And that's when he admitted to Robin that there was something. The youngest son was thinking that because he came back that him and his mother were going to get back together. And that's not the case. But now Dante did have some information that would help Robin's case and give her a lead, and she was grateful for that. And he said, well, that's because I'm the perfect boyfriend. And we hear that a couple of times throughout this episode, y'all. So Mel and Harry go to meet with Professor Kincaid's dean, and he tells them that Professor was the most talented and paranoid historian he'd ever known, and that he had published an article recently about the location of Captain William Kidd's buried treasure. And Harry became very interested. He sat up saying, "What?" And he showed the dean the letter Professor Kincaid wrote to his daughter, and the dean became excited and gave them some info about the note, and then asked if they were in possession of Professor Kincaid's journal because it contained all of his conclusions, and he told them that everyone knew about this journal. So Mel realizes this may be why Professor was killed and home was ransacked. They're probably looking for that journal, so she believes Ariel's in danger, and she calls Robin. So Robin and Dante head towards her house, and they see that the front door is open, and when they go inside, they find Ariel knocked out on the floor and a dark van getting away, and Dante ran out there to try to catch her, but he couldn't. So when they got Ariel up and okay, she told them that these guys was looking for her father's journal, and she said as soon as she took them to them, she went black. Like I guess they busted in the head, knocked her out. And so she said she had something she wanted to show them. And when she stepped away, Dante said, all I wanted was some bacon and eggs, and now I'm chasing masked men down the alley or something like that. And Robin said, like you said, it ain't easy dating me. And he said, but it's worth it. I was like, oh, sugar now. So Ariel brings a laptop with a video on it, and she shows them what her father's journal looks like. And so Robin has a copy sent to Harry so he could probably decipher what is on the pages of the book where it's opened. Meanwhile, we have Delilah and Cam sitting in the kitchen talking, and she asks him who he hung out with last night, and he didn't want to say anything. And then she looks at him and said, Tyrese, right? Tyrese is the one who pulled out the gun on them at that festival that time. And Delilah was not happy about it. And he told her, look, that's my boy. He has apologized to me over and over again. I can't help it. He's not like that. And he wants to apologize to you as well. So Delilah was being stubborn. She didn't want to go. And he said, please. He asked her, please, and held her hand. And she said, okay, but just know I'm going to have some stuff I want to say as well. Now, back at the Batcave, we have Mel and Harry. They have broken down some of the clues of the professor's note to his daughter based upon what they've made out from the 2 pages of his journal from about 10 years ago. So it leads them to finding a chessboard that would belong to John D. Rockefeller that he received from Percival Smith. So the chessboard now is in the property of the Rockefeller Historical Society. However, a week before, it was loaned to the New York Museum of History. So Mel and Harry go there, and they talk to the museum curator, who's Dr. Luttrell. And she said the professor came by to study the chessboard about 3 days ago. So she allowed Harry and Mel to check it out, and she actually came over there and watched how they broke down some of the clues. And then she heard them say, let me call Dante and Robin and let them know. But honestly, I was surprised they were saying and doing all of that in front of her. I guess they had no reason not to trust her. Anywho, next we see Dee and Cam, and his friend Tyrese comes over. They greet each other, and then he turns to Dee and says, stealing money and pulling guns on people is not who I am. He said, I'm serious. He said, sometimes desperation could turn you into someone else. And he said, he is so sorry. And she's just looking at him, and then she tells him about what she went through when her friend got shot and killed right in front of her. And with tears running down her face, she says she'll never forget how she felt when they pulled that gun on her and her friend, and when he pulled the gun on her. She said, even if you didn't plan on using it, do you understand the damage that you caused me? And at this point, he also had tears running down his face. And he said, please, he said, I just want to make this right. Tell me how I can make this right. And Dee said, actions, not words. And then at that point, Tyrese's phone rang, and it was his little sister, scared that she's going to end up in foster care because the social worker is doing a surprise visit and their mother isn't around. I'm assuming their mother's on drugs or something and be coming and going. So he said he had to leave. And so Cam said, Dee, I'll take you home. And she's like, no, we don't have time. I'll go with you. And they went to support their friend. Meanwhile, Robin and Dante, they arrive at, I believe that's a library, to get another clue from a particular book or something. And they see that the lock on the cage where the book should be hidden has been broken. So they're realizing that someone got there before them, and they pull out their guns and go inside. So they hear the guy talking to somebody on the phone and then taking pictures, sending them to whoever he's talking to on the phone. So Dante yells federal agents, and the guy starts shooting at them and everything. And after shooting up the library, they end up catching the bad guy. So they got his phone, they got the book he had, and they sent his fingerprints to Harry to see if he could find anything about it, as well as that phone number that they used. And now Dante felt that the way the guy moved and handled his gun, he was some type of mercenary or operative. And you know what? Harry said he was right. And he did say he was like a gun for hire or something like that. So Mel and Harry are in the Batcave, and they're still figuring out some more clues and tips and things. And they find out about some name called Invictus, and they decide, let's go back and talk to Ariel. So they go back to talk to Ariel. And when they get there, we see that there's a police officer stationed outside her house for her safety. So they're inside talking to her, and she's able to help them a little bit more with a lot of those useless facts that her father taught her that she didn't know what to do with. And so Mel sat next to her and asked her, did she think maybe that was her father's way of trying to connect with her? And she was like, he could have just talked to me instead of with all the history facts and things. And Mel tells her she felt the same way about her father. She thought he could have just talked to her, but he didn't know how. And she told Ariel maybe her father sharing his work with her was his way of telling her that he loved her. And we can see that Ariel is really considering what Mel said. It seems like it's something she never thought about. Now, meanwhile, back with Tyrese, at his house with his two little sisters, and he's doing their hair and he's getting the place ready, and Dee and Cam are helping, and they got rules. Remember, don't speak about this, don't say that, no fighting in front of the social worker. So when the social worker comes, he said, oh, Miss such and such, nice surprise. And she's like, yeah, that's the reason of a surprise visit, but I'm sure your neighbors tipped you off. So she's asking the girls about school. She asked them about dinner. And one of the girls said something that I said I knew she shouldn't have said. She said, Tyrese made us grilled cheese and tater tots. She should have just said, we had grilled cheese and tater tots, because then she said, and what did your mother cook? And then they was like, where's your mother? And he said she went to the store. She said she was at the store the last time I came here. He's like, I don't remember, but tonight we have a lasagna, and these are my friends. Cam is a big entrepreneur, and his girlfriend Dee, she's in private school. So the lady's like, nice to meet you. But anyway, she tells him, I'm on your side, because she hears the little girl whispering to Dee, Tyrese said he's not going to let them take us away. He's the best big brother ever. And so the social worker said, have your mother call me, Tyrese. And she left. And then Dee told her, Vanetta, you're right. Tyrese is the best big brother. So now we have Robin and Dante in some room looking for, I don't know where they are. It must have something to do with that clue that Ariel gave them. And they're looking at artifacts and gavels and masonry symbols and all kind of stuff. And Harry reminds them, remember, this is a treasure hunt. So he got them looking for stuff. And while they're in there looking, he realizes after digging that he finds out that the museum curator, Dr. Luttrell, betrayed Professor Kincaid because she's the one who hired those mercs. And so at this moment, Dr. Luttrell had the nerve to be showing up to Ariel's house, saying she heard about her father and she's coming to pay her condolences. And Ariel said, you always was my father's favorite student. And then she came in, and then these two guys about, she said, who's these? Oh, these are friends of mine. It's time that we get acquainted. And they go inside, and the camera pans over to the police officer who's in the car dead. And I knew something was up with this evil little witch. I could tell by the way she was acting when Harry and Mel were in their museum. I said something was off with her. So back to Dante and Robin, who's in whatever this place is, looking for clues or whatever. Robin's phone rings, and she thinks it's Ariel, but it's really Dr. Luttrell. And they realize that she has Ariel, and that when they find a goal, she will exchange her for Ariel or something like that, saying that he should have shared that information with her instead of with his daughter. And so she hangs up on her. And so they trying to still find out where this gold is or whatever. And they're talking to Harry. And then they said something about Invictus, and Robin saw it on a pole. So she goes over to the pole and they like, you got the key? She said, there's no way to put a key. And Dante's like, but it's a hammer. So she starts banging it. And when she puts her hand in there, it's empty. There's nothing in there. So now they're concerned how they're going to get Ariel back if there's no gold. So the next thing you know, Robin and Dante show up into some warehouse where Dr. Luttrell is with their guns drawn, and she's telling them there is gold. They're saying it's not. It's just a made up story from a man who was grieving his wife, and it's not true. And she said it is. And then she had her two mercenaries come out there, and she said, too bad you're not going to be alive when we find the gold, because I can't leave anybody alive who knows about Professor Kincaid's murder and the treasure. So Robin and Dante turn around to see the two guys that are behind them with guns with masks on, and she talks to them and says, I bet you she promised to give you a percentage of this and that. She said, I got $25,000 for both of you right now if you'll work for me. And when one of them was reaching for it, she dropped it on the floor so they could bend down. And she said, now. And her and Dante went into action, whooping some behind, got them down on the floor. And Dr. Luttrell tried to run. And that's when Mel came running in there and shot at her and stopped her in her tracks, saying, that was a warning. Move again and I'm going to aim right at you. And then Robin pointed a gun at her and said, where's Ariel? So they saved Ariel. She thanked Robin for finding her father's killer, and she thanked Mel for helping her see her father in a different light, wishing she had realized it earlier. So at this moment, Harry comes over their earpieces and says, I think I figured it out. He said, I think trust was spelled right. It wasn't an error. He said, meet me at the Masonic Temple. And that's where Robin and Dante had been. So now we see Harry, Mel, Robin, Dante, and Ariel are at the Masonic Temple. And so Harry said, trust is a support beam, aka a pillar. He said, so what if I had put a dot here and it's trust number one? He said, this is the first pillar in the Masonic Temple. And Ariel said, it could be true, because they were denying it, especially Mel. And then she said, oh, it has the emblem of victory on the front of it. So that might be it. So Robin handed her the gavel or the hammer or whatever, what they were calling a key, and they allowed her to hit it. And when she hit it and broke into that thing, there was the gold. It was really there. Harry was so excited. All of them was excited. And Mel had to apologize to Harry for not believing in him and what he was saying about this whole treasure hunt thing. So we learned that Ariel and the Freemasons are going to get part of the gold to a museum and using the rest to fund a scholarship in her parents' names. And so next we see Robin and Dante. They're talking. She's laying out the facts of the different obstacles that they have to deal with in reference to his sons. And she said, we will get through them together. And he said, you are and she said, perfect girlfriend. He said, that's right. And next we see Dee and Cam at the door talking about how Tyrese's mother is bipolar. And sometimes the meds that she takes is the problem. The side effects can be too much for her and everything falls apart, leaving Tyrese to clean up everything. And she says she wished there was more that they could do for him. And he said, yeah, me too. And so, like every week, the episode ended with Robin on Vi and Dee in the kitchen. And they're talking about how life could be complicated. Robin is talking about Dante's kids. Dee is talking about Cam's friend Tyrese. And Aunt Vi says, just because it's complicated doesn't mean it's not worth fighting for. And so they hug, and Aunt Vi said, I love y'all. And I said, I love the way these episodes end every week with all this family love. Anyway, y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about this episode. And please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's your girl Barbie J, saying peace.